The metal skin of this trailer has been hot enough to burn since before 8 o'clock. My forearm has a blister from the door handle. I reached for it without thinking 3 days ago, the way you'd reach for any door, and it left a mark across my wrist I've been cleaning twice a day with water from the jug. Old habit. Wound management. You know what's almost funny? I spent 28 years in climate-controlled operating rooms where the temperature was maintained to within 2 degrees Fahrenheit. Surgical suite environmental specs, positive pressure, HEPA filtration, all of it precise, all of it controlled, and if anything deviated, there were protocols. I now live in a tin box in the Mojave Desert. I burned myself on the door handle. My name is Dr. Charles Whitfield. I'm 63 years old. I was an interventional cardiologist, cath lab specialist, at Greenwich Hospital, Yale New Haven Health System, for 28 years. I performed 3,214 percutaneous coronary interventions. I kept a count. Most physicians don't, but I did. I knew the number the way you know the miles on a car you've driven for 20 years. 3,214 times I threaded a wire through a coronary artery, inflated a balloon, deployed a stent smaller than a drinking straw, and restored blood flow to heart muscle that had been starving. My complication rate was below institutional average for my entire career. That was my reputation. What colleagues said at conferences, what I heard at rounds, what I was described as in 2 different New England Journal editorials. Whitfield has clean hands. Peak income, $1,100,000 a year. Colonial house in Greenwich. Summer cottage in Nantucket. The sunburns accumulated on that island eventually gave me a melanoma on my left jaw in 2021. Removed. Scar still faintly visible here. 2 children in private school. Country club. A wife who became over 20 years of 3 a.m. pagers and canceled vacations. Someone I recognized at formal events and stopped recognizing in doorways. In 2009, I gave the keynote address at the American College of Cardiology annual conference in Orlando. 1,700 cardiologists. I was introduced as one of the top interventionalists in the Northeast Corridor. I remember standing at the podium and looking out at the room and thinking, this is what 3,000 procedures in 20 years looks like from the front of a room. I thought it very clearly, very logically, and felt absolutely nothing about it. I drove back to the hotel afterward and sat in the rental car in the parking structure for 45 minutes. I told myself I was tired. My son's name is Andrew. He's 34 now. He played soccer from age 8 through high school. I attended 11 games total over 9 years. Each absence had a reason I could document. When he was 12, I promised I was coming to the regional semifinal. There was a code at 6 in the morning. I called home at halftime. Andrew picked up, not Claire. He said, I knew you wouldn't. 3 words. He was 12. I still don't have anything to say to them. In interventional cardiology, there's a phenomenon called no-reflow. In high-risk anatomy It occurs somewhere between 5 and 15% of the time. This is what it means. You do everything right. The guide wire crosses the blockage perfectly. The balloon inflates correctly. The stent deploys beautifully. You see it on the fluoroscopy screen, the vessel opening in real time, textbook placement. The blockage is cleared. The anatomy is correct. By every measurable parameter, the procedure has succeeded. Then blood simply stops flowing. No reason anyone can identify. No error anyone can demonstrate. The vessel is open. The stent is placed precisely. The microvascular system downstream, the tiny vessels that distribute blood through the heart muscle. For reasons that remain incompletely understood, they simply refuse to accept the restored supply. The vessel is open. Nothing is passing through. I understood this clinically for 20 years before I understood it personally. October 14th, 2023. Marcus Holt was 58 years old, same age as me, almost exactly. I noticed that when I reviewed his file the morning of the case. Hedge fund partner, elective stent placement, stable angina, clean workup, favorable anatomy. A routine case in the category my residents requested for training. Wide margins, low risk. The experienced surgeon's hands probably unnecessary but present as a safeguard. The blockage cleared. The stent deployed beautifully. I can see it on the fluoroscopy in my memory. Exactly, still, precisely. Textbook placement. Then, no reflow. Marcus coded in recovery 2 hours later. His wife was in the waiting room. His son, I don't know his exact age, 20 or 22, was sitting beside her. I spoke to them. There are conversations that don't have an outside, and that is one of them. The family sued. I understood. Clinically, procedurally, the case was flawless. No reflow is documented. It's a known risk. It was in the consent forms Marcus signed. The hospital's risk management team met with me 2 weeks later and used the right words. Then began, quietly and efficiently, the process of creating institutional distance between my name and their liability. My department chief is Richard Falwell. Richard was best man at my wedding in 1989. After November of that year, he stopped returning my calls. Not dramatically. His assistant was always polite. He was always in something. I slept on average 3 hours a night from October through February. My hands, which had threaded wires through coronary arteries without trembling for 28 years, began trembling before I entered the cath lab. I declined elective cases, then complex cases, then all cases. On a Tuesday in February, I stood outside the cath lab door. I had walked through that door more than 3,000 times. I stood there with my hands flat against the wall and waited for the competence to arrive. The particular certainty I had always felt when I entered a procedure room. The focused calm that had been as reliable as the equipment. I waited for it. It did not come. I called my PA, said I was sick, drove home, sat in my car in the driveway for 3 hours, Andrew called that afternoon. He'd heard through hospital channels. He said, "Dad, take whatever time you need." I said I would. That was 14 months ago. I haven't spoken to him since. I'm not sure what I would say. $18,000 cash for 5 acres off a dirt road with no name outside Twentynine Palms. A 1972 Airstream trailer, 25 feet long, dented, no Wi-Fi. A propane stove. A solar panel the previous owner left behind that runs a light and charges the radio I have never turned on. I wake at 4:30 in the morning. That's just what happens now. My body has its own schedule for the first time. I walk 2 miles into the desert before sunrise with no destination and no route. I read battered paperback westerns I found at a thrift store in town. I watch the Joshua trees at dusk. The Joshua trees are the strangest plants I've ever encountered. They grow in every direction that doesn't seem related to any organizing logic. Angular, asymmetric, forked at arbitrary angles. They look like the idea of a tree built by something that had only heard trees described. They survive here without irrigation, without maintenance, without anyone monitoring their vital signs or checking their pressure differentials. They're absurd and they're alive, and I find that I don't have the clinical word for what I find it. There are no cardiac monitors in the Mojave, no pagers, no code blue announcements over an intercom. The only cardiac rhythms out here are hummingbirds. I put a feeder near the trailer door in June. They come at dawn, fast and precise, and they leave when they're done. Inside the trailer, on the curved interior wall, I cannot explain this, there is a framed certificate. American College of Cardiology, Fellow designation. My name on it, the year I was elected. I packed it when I left Greenwich. I don't know why. I have not been able to throw it away. I have not been able to explain why it's still there. I've reviewed the fluoroscopy of the Holt case in my mind and estimated 10,000 times. This is not hyperbole. I've run the frequency and duration in my head the way I'd run a calculation. The wire crossing, the stent deploying, textbook, the vessel open on the screen, and then no reflow. I know with clinical certainty that I did nothing wrong. That knowledge is accurate and complete and professionally defensible, and has not once in 14 months stopped the replay. That's the thing about no reflow. The vessel is open. You can see it on the screen. You can demonstrate it, and nothing moves through. I'm in the desert, watching Joshua trees grow in impossible directions, waiting to find out if flow ever returns, or whether